Good morning and welcome to Michigan Stadium. Here, just hours away from Ohio State at Michigan, number 1 Ohio State at number 15 Michigan. The game of the year. Tony Gerdeman here with Kevin Newton from Buckeye Huddle as we await Tom Orr, who will be down field level with team arrivals. Michigan should be arriving in about 5 minutes. Ohio State arriving around 10:10. Hoping to have all of that for you guys here. We're obviously here to do a little previewing of the game and talk about it. We've talked about a lot of it. We've still got time to answer super chats and things like that you guys have in mind, so we can address those as well. And I guess I'll start it out this way, Kevin, as I know you're doing that, so I can chat a little bit. But for me, this game comes down to Bryce Underwood, freshman quarterback from Michigan, who has had his ups and downs this season. He's been at his worst in their losses, and especially against Oklahoma, but that was early in the season. Was not all of that outstanding against USC. Has completed, 50% of his passes in those two games combined. Why should we expect him to be at his best, which I think is necessary, in a game against what we believe to be the best defense that he'll face all season long? I think that math doesn't necessarily add up when you've got Matt Patricia.
I was going to say, it looks like the team's arriving. Let me punch this to the stage and see.
There you go.
All right, we got that here. We can still kind of talk over it. We don't need to go full on there, but let's bring that up as
you see everybody. Is that Michigan arriving there?
That would be the Michigan arrival. I mean, maybe not everybody's there yet. I'll keep an eye. I'll bring it in and out on there.
Yeah, that's fine. So to one of those arriving players, Bryce Underwood, I think it's a lot to ask to put this game on his shoulders, but you kind of have to, don't you?
You do. I mean, because obviously Ohio State knows what Michigan wants to do. Steady dose of Jordan Marshall, any of their other running backs. I mean, that's what it's going to kind of come down to. So the equalizer is going to be what Bryce Underwood's able to do as a passer. And you're right. He has not necessarily performed well in the biggest of games, but this is the game. And because it is the game, players introduce themselves to the world at this point. You can't have the type of NIL deal that Bryce Underwood did and not be introduced to the world. But, the point still is valid.
21 years ago, Troy Smith introduced himself to the world in this game, threw for, I think, over 300 yards, rushed for like 150. And from then on was a Wolverine killer. This is an opportunity for Bryce Underwood to etch his name into history. And I do think he's going to be involved in the running game as obviously the passing game. But I think for Michigan, they need to avoid third and longs. And for Ohio State, when Michigan isn't third and long, keep an eye on Bryce Underwood tucking and running that ball, trying to pick those up. So spying him is going to be key in this one as well.
I was on the show last night with Chuck while you guys were en route back to the hotel. Thank you to our super chat here. Let me just put it here, just a straight donation. There we go on there. And we looked at the over-under on the yardage. You can have prop bets here in Michigan. The over-under in yardage for Underwood on the ground, and it was either 12.5 or 16.5 yards.
Well, I think
that sack adjusted.
Exactly. So that's with sacks. So, when Oklahoma beat Michigan, John Matier rushed for like 78 yards in that one, and he had over half of their rushing yards. I wonder if Michigan needs something similar to where, like, if Underwood is rushing for 70 yards, that tells you that, one, even if Ohio State is sacking him, he's still picking up 100 yards in addition to those sacks. But, boy, Ohio State is tackling very well, spying very well. So that might have to be a JT Barrett 86-yarder in there.
Right.
Which was, of course, against Minnesota 11 years ago. I do expect Bryce Underwood to have some success running the ball. I don't know that that's going to be the difference. The difference is going to have to be him completing those third down passes. And if they can stay out of third down, all the better. I think if they stay out of third down, then they really have a legit chance to win this game. And maybe even be favored to do so. If you're avoiding third downs altogether, you're operating at a very high level. But get them into third downs, and we said it on multiple shows, and there are 2 losses. They've been 5 of 23 total on third downs.
And a stat that I meant to look up, but I just kind of ran out of time, was in Ohio State's streak in this thing, what Michigan's third down conversion rate was, because it certainly feels like Michigan has been able to extend drives that way. Ohio State just not able to get them off the field. Obviously, things are different now with Matt Patricia there versus Jim Knowles. Jim Knowles kind of had the baked-in big plays, which was a terrible cake.
Empty calories.
Yes, empty calories is right. But what does this look like from Matt Patricia? I saw a lot of the X's and O's types, and with our Ross Bolton agreeing that in the Rutgers game threw a lot of sim pressures, a lot of different looks. So it'll be interesting to see what a true freshman quarterback looks like going against an NFL style called defense.
Yeah, an NFL play caller, which has benefited Michigan over the years with their defenses as they keep getting guys from the Baltimore Ravens. But not just an NFL play caller with NFL style defense, future NFLers in there as well on that defense for the Buckeyes. When you're talking about, Sonny Styles is going to be, he's being mentioned as first rounder. Arvell Reese, I've seen mock drafts with him as the number 1 overall pick. You've got Caden McDonald showing up as a junior, and the corners, Caleb Downs, possible top 10 pick. So there are NFL players on this defense, which you go back to previous games here between Ohio State and Michigan, such as the 2021 game, and you had maybe a couple on that defense, and that was a rough one for the Buckeyes, who put up a ton of yards through the air in cold and snow, but couldn't stop Michigan from running. So let's talk about Michigan running game. Max Bredesen, fullback, expected to play, which will greatly help the running game. Jordan Marshall, expected to play, got banged up previously, missed last week's game in preparation for this one. Bryson Cusdahl, their backup, is tough. He's a tough guy, not necessarily a home run hitter. But Jordan Marshall this season has gotten better and better and better. And Ohio State needs to do what they have not necessarily done for an entire game against Michigan, which is tackle the running back.
And, we can look at this year and say that Ohio State passed its tests against Quinn Wisner, and Texas passed the test against Jonah Coleman and Washington. But this is, very different stakes, very different type of runner, very different type of offense. I mean, you sit there and you look at those other 2 programs, a little bit more quarterback-led in terms of what it is they want to do. Obviously, Arch Manning picked up the big win against A&M yesterday. Then you've got, you've got Damon Williams at Washington, and with Denzel Boston and their great receivers that they have there. With Michigan, it's on the ground. So it's going to be a very different look. As I'm keeping an eye out for when Tom pops up video of the team arrivals as they start here shortly. But
we don't want to make Tom mad.
No. You don't want to see him when he's mad. He green and all sorts of stuff. It's not good.
No, so Jordan Marshall has been better and better and better all season long. Just has become a home run hitter that Justice Haynes was. So if you can limit that home run, then clearly that's 50 yards that you don't have to worry about. And a lot of those home runs go for touchdowns. So if you stop that, and Ohio State's been very good about that. They don't give up a lot of big plays in the passing game or the running game. And it's always been the big plays. Even the last year where they finally broke out with a 30-yard or whatever, and it was like you felt like, well, that was the one run. In previous years, it's been more than one, but last year it only took one, and that's why it's so key to stop Jordan Marshall. But Ohio State's really, really good at tackling, as we know. The Ohio State offense, what are you expecting from the run game?
I'm expecting just enough to try and set up the pass game. I mean, I know that they probably need to do more than that, but once again, Ohio State can't come out there and say, "I see you, Michigan, and I raise you. Let's fight in 3 square inches of space." You just can't do that. You can't do that, but you also can't come out there and throw it 55 times. That's not realistic. It'll be interesting to see how much faith they have in Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, a couple of true freshmen that have not played in this game. Bo Jackson coming off of a pretty costly fumble where you have C.J. Donaldson, who, certainly is not a home run hitter, pretty secure with the ball. I expect to see him as your red zone, green zone, gold zone, whatever nomenclature you want to use there, type of back. But I think the yardage for Bo Jackson was around 80 on the prop bet for over under.
Ooh, and I went well over that in our bold predictions, but that's bold. I do expect them to run the ball enough to complement the passing game, and the passing game could be complemented by the return of Carnell, Tate, and Jeremiah Smith. It's already, we're supposed to wait until 10 a.m. to announce that they're questionable for this game. Pete Thamel already went ahead and said they're perhaps probable. So the expectation all week long, as we've talked about here, is that they would play, and it's just what condition are they? Are they 80%? I'll tell you, 80% has been better than most of the receivers that Michigan has faced this year.
80% in November is like 140% in September.
So that's
check my math.
Midwest fall math for sure, late fall. So getting Jeremiah and Carnell Tate back would be very good news for Julian Sayin, very bad news for the Michigan defense. But we've seen Julian Sayin have to go without them the last 6 quarters of play when they both were out last week. Saw Max Clare get very involved. Max Clare, as Ohio State's #1 receiving tight end. Michigan's been susceptible to the tight ends all season long, and we can talk about that in a bit. But first, you got
just a new number. I'm just punching it through.
Yeah. So thank you for joining me, member there. The passing game for Ohio State, to me, has been all about protect Julian Sayin, win grand prizes, because we've seen Michigan's defense throughout the season give up big plays, get burned, and sometimes they give up plays, and sometimes their quarterback can't complete a pass. This will be the best combination of receivers and quarterback. This will be the best receivers they played and the best quarterback they've played, probably the best offensive line they played, which to me spells bad news for a Michigan defense that is going to try not to give up big plays, but we'll see how that goes.
I mean, I keep going back. The vision, I'm going to set this down again because it doesn't look like we're ready to punch in Tom yet, is I keep going back to that Northwestern game where Michigan turned it over 5 times and still somehow found a way to win because Northwestern could not handle success. Ohio State is different. Ohio State will be able to handle success. I don't expect to see Michigan turn it over 5 times in this game, but if Michigan's -2 in the turnovers, I mean, this thing could get away.
Yeah, and both teams turned the ball over last year. Ohio State, if they could just avoid the first quarter turnover and deepen your own territory, you'd be ahead of the game. You'd be ahead of the games of the last couple of years. And Ohio State's been pretty good about the turnovers. Julian Sayin has 4 interceptions on the year. I think Bryce Underwood has, I don't even know, 5, 6, something like that. But he's also had some that were dropped. So is Julian Sayin, frankly. But if Ohio State, I think what both defenses need to do is make sure you catch the passes, the errant passes that come to you, the tipped passes that come to you. Make plays for your offense, because I think Michigan's offense is going to need some help from their defense. Ohio State's offense does not necessarily give things away. Bo Jackson fumbled on the goal line a week or 2 weeks ago. Since then, he's been fine. They haven't really turned the ball over much this year, so I know it's been critical to Michigan's success in this series. I don't think it's something you can count on, though.
No, you can never count on that. I mean, it's a sudden change. It's something like that. It's not something that you can bake in and say, well, we know we're going to have 2 takeaways in this game. If it were only that simple.
Just wait for them. Okay, we've called it. When do we want to call the turnovers?
Yeah, it's like, all right. We're signaling the let's turn the ball over, or let's get the ball turned over to us play, or whatever. Let's just keep going to that one.
Yeah, just keep hammering that play until they stop it. So with this Ohio State passing game, with Carnell Tate getting back, it's been 3 weeks since he's missed 3 games. The last time we saw Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin all together was the Penn State game. Julian Sayin was about 20 for 23 for 340 yards and 4 touchdowns. What are you expecting from Carnell today? Because I don't know that you can just miss 3 weeks and then come back. And in that game, they both had 100 yards receiving. Is it fair to expect the Carnell Tate that we've seen all season?
I think maybe a little bit of a lesser version. I see 7 targets, 5 receptions, 70 yards, and a score. How about that?
I mean, that's basically what he had last year minus the score, because there was so much attention to Jeremiah Smith, who had, I think, 5 catches for 35 yards last year and a touchdown against Michigan. I think in this one, if Jeremiah Smith has 5 catches for 35 yards, one of Max Clare or Carnell Tate needs to go off, and
the run game needs to do something that it hasn't been able to do in this series in the last 4 or 5 years.
It's been a while, and I know I think I wrote this in 2018, and I think it still holds true. Ohio State has not won this game with Michigan outrushing them since 1994. So I'm not saying run the ball to win the game, but it's basically if Ohio State throws the ball a bunch in the first half and gets up by 17 points at the half, then they're going to run the ball. And then it becomes this, oh, see, we won the running battle. We won the rushing battle. It's like, yes, because you were up and you could run the ball and then Michigan had to throw.
Right. You took the air out of the ball and
exactly.
You did what you needed to do there. And
there's different ways to skin that cat.
I mean, again, and I've used the phrase over and over and over again, and I'm going to offend somebody at some point. You can't win a night fight in a coffin. You can't sit there and just say, all right, we see what it is that you're doing, and we're going to raise you, and we're going to try and win in this, small space. Ohio State has to be true to what Ohio State does. Now, part of what Ohio State does is running the ball, but not nearly to the same effect that Michigan does. So you can't try and get into, it's like trying to go shot for shot with like me. You can't go shot for shot with me. We're not talking basketball. We're talking
right.
Tequila, but you gotta be smart about it.
Talking pickle chips.
Oh boy,
chip for chip, KO chip for chip with Nooner. That's for sure. I saw somebody mention Caden McDonald, and he's going to be huge in this game. Literally, figuratively, the Ohio State nose tackle. This is another advantage that Ohio State has. Their defensive line is better than Michigan's defensive line. Does that mean Ohio State's going to have a better running day because they're going against a lesser defensive line? Perhaps, but Caden McDonald to me has been just so interesting. He's got, I think, 47 tackles on the season. Caleb Downs has 49. Like, the fact that those two guys are so close. Caleb Downs, who as a true freshman, led Alabama with 107 tackles and had like 30 more solo tackles than anybody else. And this Ohio State defense is just so complete that the nose tackle, the first line of defense, has nearly as many tackles as one of the last lines of defense. Although the fun part about this defense is sometimes Caleb Downs is the last line of defense. Sometimes he's the first line of defense.
Right. You don't want to sit there and bang the drum that, hey, look, our safety is leading our team in tackles or whatever. But when you line your safety up in so many different positions and so many different responsibilities, it's not like he's like the 11th guy out there, and it's him or Katie bar the door.
And really, when you look at this Ohio State defense, you expect Michigan to try to attack the weak spot, but what is that weak spot? If you look at, I don't even know how much, like maybe the weak spot is Lorenzo Styles Jr., who's had a very, very good season, which, this is all relative. But I don't know how much Michigan's going to be in a nickel situation anyway, because they'll play 2 tight ends. They don't really have 3 receivers that they like to throw out there a bunch. We'll see if Samaj Morgan is back this week. And he's a guy that has always been around 9 yards a catch, which doesn't really do much for an offense. I don't know how you attack this Ohio State defense. My theory is that they're going to try to move Andrew Marsh inside and get him matched up away from Jermaine Matthews or Davis Nick Benosin. Tom's thinking, well, sure, but how long can you do that before they just move Jermaine Matthews inside? And that's assuming you're even having success with that, because Andrew Marsh is their biggest weapon in the pass game. He's the biggest concern.
Yeah, more so than McCauley, more so than anybody else. I try to use Ohio State's aggressiveness against them. I run a lot of screens. I run a lot of stuff to the edge. I mean, The plays that we've seen Ohio State try and run to zero success in this series here over the last 5 years. Throw it outside the numbers or whatever, get that thing blocked and try. If you can pick up 7-8 yards of pop on there, you're gonna be hard to stop. I mean, those are the types of things I'm doing. I'm not running a lot of nines. I'm not really trying to test there. And then once you sit there and you lighten up the box and you get the count to where you go, then you give them a heavy dose of Jordan Marshall.
And I said this before during the week with the pass game. I also expect some screens from Michigan, some quick throws, some outside stuff. Limit the amount of time and reading that Bryce Underwood has to do against this defense. Roll him out, have some half field reads, so he doesn't have to worry about the left side of the field, the left side of the defense. He only needs to worry about the right side. Try to simplify things, but then when you're simplifying things, you're also simplifying things for the defense. You have to execute. You've got to be accurate. He waxes and wanes with his accuracy, and so this needs to be the game where he is the most accurate and just with the basic throws. And I'm not even concerned about the 40-yard throws downfield. Those are hit and miss for anybody. He needs to be accurate 13-yard throws to keep the chains moving. And sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, as we wait for Tom and the team arrival, which I believe is around 10-10.
10-10, yeah. I'm keeping an eye here. Let me brighten this up. I can't see very well. We made the decision to stand to have the better backdrop and everything else, but I need a little table or something. There's unfortunately none to be had, so that's why I'm constantly looking over my shoulder back at my computer.
Again, we just don't want Tom to yell at us because he's like, punch me in, we'll punch you out. We don't condone violence here.
We embrace it.
I see a question. How many penalties today? And that's going to be key for both teams. You don't want to be the cause for a roughing on third down or a personal foul on third down to like you were going to get the ball back.
Right.
And now you've just prolonged the drive. That could be the difference in this game. The need for discipline is so good, so big in this game. And the more disciplined team generally wins, even with Ohio State's talent advantage. They can't afford to give Michigan multiple opportunities. If you can force that punt, don't cause any problems, and I'd say the same thing for the other team as well.
Here's my question, and I know you're not an odds maker, but what are the chances that Ohio State gets an offensive holding call going its way? Slim, nil, or hell nah? I feel like that's a message from Bill Carroll down about the holding calls this year. The Big Ten official, head official, Bill Carroll, where they want to keep the game moving. You could call a holding on every play, so you don't want to. That's not a great product. That makes a game on Fox last 6 hours instead of 4 hours. And it's going to snow here at some point.
And so, you will need to get out of Dodge as well. Everybody will need to get out of Dodge. And there's a super chat from Ryan Dawes. I can't even read that.
Does Coach Pat break tendency and get after Underwood from every angle? Coach Pat being Patricia.
Yeah. Bryce Underwood does not do well against the blitz. A lot of quarterbacks don't, and most true freshman quarterbacks don't. So I think there will be some blitzing, but you also have to make sure that you're containing while you do that. So how many defenders can you apply to keeping him from getting out or keeping him from getting up the middle? I think they can blitz him up the middle. I also think they can get pressure from like a Caden Curry up the middle and go that way. But here we go as we've got some action on the second camera. But I do think there is they plan an avenue to success with getting after blitzing him a little bit. I don't think you necessarily need to do it all the time. Certainly not all the time. I also think you can spy with Arvell and then send him as a blitzer, as a delayed pass rusher.
All right, here we go. The bus is pulling up here. It's 10-10, and of course, shot a little laggy, but here we go. I mean, we are held captive by the Wi-Fi that we are given access to.
And we'll see if this is going to be Ryan Day first off the bus as well, like in the
no
players.
So does this mean that Ohio State's going to have to? Yeah, this.
Is it Michigan?
This is Michigan.
Okay.
Not you, Limpy.
Was that Matt Bredesen, I wonder? So you're getting a look at the Wolverines coming off the bus. Kevin, over the years, what Buckeye would you send first off the bus? Throughout history, you always want to send the biggest, baddest looking dude first off the bus.
Alonzo Spellman.
That's always my first answer as well. Alonzo Spellman. Send him off, first one off the bus and watch all of the other buses just go ahead and take off, wheels squealing. So now I think, does that mean both teams have arrived at this point? Because was that?
I would imagine that Tom would have pulled up stakes and gone over to Ohio State's arrival unless they both have the same staging area.
Yeah, so Tom knows best. We will stick here.
I mean, both the locker rooms are very close to one another. I mean, the infamous tunnel and everything that we've seen through the years. I mean, they, have better security measures in place, so to speak, but it doesn't change the proximity that the two, that they are. There's always going to be some wolfing and things going on. It's all fun to laugh and joke about, but you also, this is business. You need to sit there and not get caught up in all that crap.
Gladiators entering the arena there. Love it every year, whether it's Ann Arbor, whether it's Columbus. As I told Tom, Kevin, this is more than a game. This is always history. You're going to watch history in the making. You're going to see something that will be remembered forever by a bunch of people. You'll see something that will never be forgotten because it's either so amazing or so painful. And everybody's volunteered for this. Remember that you volunteered for this. You can't back out now. All of the pain and the joy, whatever this game brings, it lasts, and that's why we signed up for it. It's the best thing going.
There we go. Tom punched himself out of the show, not literally. So we don't have that. So we'll see if we get what the deal is with the Ohio State return or them showing up and everything else. Who else? If it wasn't Alonzo Spellman, who else would you have?
Coop said, I think somebody said it about Paul Breed. I
remember Paul Breed. Yeah.
He's a JUCO guy. But Zach Harrison was, a big dude. John Simon, all of these guys. There's a lot of guys that you could do that with, especially on the defensive line from Ohio State.
Rob Rose, even though it was 295 trying to play edge.
Yes. Glenville Tarbletter. So, Kevin, let's go ahead. Me and Tom have set our scores on previous shows. Did you announce your score in the live show last night?
I did, and again, I'm not sure. I mean, my score dumped out of our predictions. I think I put it back in. I don't know. I'm saying 31-17. I think is where I'm at, and I've been all over the board. I'm at 31-14. I still haven't really put it. I have Ohio State covering, but I don't have some sort of monumental crunch.
Well, I mean, you were close. It's actually going to be 27-17.
Okay.
So
good to know, but that's not covering.
Well, depends on when you got it.
I got it at 10.
But I kind of see this as arm's length throughout. It's certainly not at the start with a 0-0, but for Ohio State, avoid the customary early turnover and then see what happens, because that's been the key to just fighting back to that. They've not been in that situation this season. Michigan's been in a situation where they're losing and they've lost. They've been in a situation where they've been losing and they've won. Ohio State has only been in a situation of winning or being tied with Texas and then being up 14-0 and being no concern. They've not had their backs against the wall in the fourth quarter of any game this year, so we don't know how they're going to handle that. We assume it would be, they would be able to, they wouldn't collapse, but fourth quarter, backs against the wall here, 4 years in a row of losing. There's no way to predict how that's going to go, right? Or is there? Is it the same thing that happens the previous 4 years? Does the weight of all of this get to them?
You hope not. I was going to ask you, and I know you've always had a great series about what basically what are the headlines going to be? What are we going to be talking about on Sunday? But yeah, I mean, until you get the weight off of your back. I mean, Ohio State went a long ways toward that with winning the 4 games, winning the national championship. Still isn't winning this. Ohio State has not played in Indianapolis for a Big Ten championship since 20. It's been a minute. You've got classes of players that don't have any gold pants. I mean, we were not far away from talking about when does Ohio State take the lead in this series. Now, we're a decade plus away from that happening because of that. I mean, maybe I'm not meant to see that.
So we are now almost 1 hour and 59 minutes from kickoff exactly right now, according to the 12:14 kickoff time. So is Tom? Are we done with Tom?
Tom's back up with his shot, but we'll kind of see where we go. I mean, the team, did they have them like drive laps around while they waited for Michigan to clear out or whatever?
Like a Clemson arrival where they drive the bus around for no reason,
right?
And everybody thinks it's so special. So this Julian Sayin has maybe not been talked about as much as Bryce Underwood, which, hey, similar thing happened against Texas where everybody was talking about Arch Manning. Now, for different reasons, they're talking about Arch Manning versus different reasons. They're talking about Bryce Underwood. But a fully engaged Julian Sayin with his receivers back, assuming they're 80, 85%. I mean, we saw Jeremiah Smith 2 weeks ago as questionable, pull down a one-handed catch on the sideline. So we should all be so questionable. Julian Sayin back. The wind seems fine. The cold is, it's 29 degrees.
Right. The wind chill wasn't much
30.
Colder than what it was. I mean, it was what it was.
The wind is the big issue. And what are you expecting from Julian Sayin?
He's truly a first-year starter playing in the biggest game. I mean, obviously he's played in big games, the Texas game, everything else. But, I think he's going to feel a lot of pressure. And it's going to be a matter of, does Ohio State give him, does he get to keep that clean pocket? Does he get time to set his feet? Do they have, does he get to complete his first 6 of 6? I mean, when he gets into a rhythm, it's hard to get him out of that rhythm. Do you sit there? Do you have some stuff underneath with Max Clare or whoever to, let him get it, let him get his feet, maybe a little shallow cross with Jeremiah, some things like that. I think it's important to let him become comfortable. I mean, obviously you don't want to sit there and give up a series in order to try and, I think I hear some sirens now, to try and get to the point that you want to. But, with that being said, I'm expecting a pretty good game out of Julian Sayin. I think his over-under was about 250 yards.
If he completes like his first 6, then it almost becomes just another game. And just another game for Julian Sayin, I think, would be bad news for Michigan because when he's locked in, it becomes machine-like without being mechanical, which I think sometimes would describe Bryce Underwood. So if he can get going early.
And there are the Ohio State buses coming down, whatever that is that State or Maine or whatever?
It is, in fact, State or Maine.
Yes.
Or perhaps Stadium. So
we will be punching up Tom here shortly once the buses get there. They are gray Cardinal buses, and we're spoiler alert. And then with that, we can start to decelerate a little bit and get ready for, how many more Buckeye Weeklies do you have between now and 12:14?
4. No more. I have seen some talk in the chat about cheating. And Ohio State has been cheating for 50 years prior to Michigan's cheating through paying players. And look, there were bags, McDonald's bags and $100 envelopes all over the sport. Just because this is not, once they allowed NIL, rich folks started giving players money. That's not how this has worked. Like, that's been going on for years. It's just now it's legal. You weren't suddenly able to tap this unfound, hey, why don't we ask these people for money? It's like, no, they've been doing it forever. This is why you're able to just plug in your NIL, collect it, and go. So I hate to break the news to a bunch of people. Like Rashawn Gary turning down the $300,000 to come to Michigan, as the old internet likes to say. Sure, why not?
I'm gonna punch Tom in here in a second. He's taking his shot up to to eye level as opposed to shooting the ground, which should be an indicator that we're close. But I'm going to wait. All right, he's given us the wave, so we will punch that in.
There we
We can
go.
set this down. I can't multitask.
No, that's fine.
I mean,
Just something special about bus arrivals. You know, it's just love them so much. Like the Rose Bowl last year was a complete pain.
it wasn't as bad as a couple years ago at the Peach Bowl for Georgia's arrival. They took us out for both of them, and then they left us. The people that were like our chaperones stranded us, and we couldn't figure out how to get back in, and we had to fight our way in. And I nearly got in a fight with a parent of a Georgia player who was accusing me of standing in front of her, and I'm like, look, lady, I'm just trying to get back inside.
That's my wife who taught me to call it Lady Sir. So there you see the first bus arriving, and we let's go ahead and assume it's the Ohio State buses, as you said.
Yeah, I don't think it's the officials.
One official per bus.
It's the Bill Lamagna bus.
The ACC officials with the replay. But no, there you see Ryan Day there. He looks locked in and ready to go. Boy,
he wanted no part of that. He wasn't going to give anybody a chance to sit there and call him a hoe.
There's Matt Patricia, it looks like. And some players coming off and headed straight for the locker room to get ready for this. So this will be Matt Patricia's first foray into the rivalry. Very interested to talk to him about it, I don't know, in a month. Who knows when we actually get to talk to him about all of this. And you see the players getting off of all of the buses, walking in. And if you can go ahead and, as you're watching, identify whoever you like out there in the TV land.
They're all there except for the guys who aren't.
And again, the availability report, Lorenzo Styles was not on there. He's good to go.
Quincy Porter's out.
Quincy Porter is out. That was the only other major name. Unfortunate that he is out. But the thing is, he's only played 4 games this year, so now he can redshirt and then still play in the postseason. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be around 5 years, but it's just if you've got Carnell Tate, you've got Jeremiah Smith, you don't need Quincy Porter.
Right.
So that's something to keep in mind. We have not talked about Brandon in this game, and where I think Ohio State can do some damage is against TJ Metcalf, their nickel, who is not as good as their 2 corners. Now, Brandon Ennis this year, I think, has averaged 7 yards a catch. So, how much damage can he do? That's the question. If you're Ohio State, are you more focused on Max Clare or Brandon Ennis as that number 3 guy?
You see, I think I'm looking at Max Clare, to be honest, and that's nothing against BI. I think BI, really stepped up and did what he needed to when both, Smith and Tate were out. But, Clare is just a little bit different. I think Clare stands out more from what you might get at the position than with what BI does. I mean, neither of them are track stars by any stretch of the imagination. But don't allow my selling on Brandon Ennis to make it sound like I'm really selling on him. I'm just that high on Max Clare.
And Clare being out there allows you to stay in 12 personnel and take advantage of the different ways that Michigan wants to play defense. And I think it was Ross Bolton talking about how when teams are in 12 personnel, Michigan likes to stay in a 3 defensive tackle look and like a 3-4 kind of defense. And I think if you do that with Max Clare out there, he can be that slot receiver, and he's going to be working against a linebacker or a safety, which is an advantage for Ohio State. So I think you're right where there's going to be a lot of 12 personnel, I think, from Ohio State. Because Max Clare, I think in the last 3 games, has 17 catches. Now, no Carnell Tate in those last 3 games, but we've seen him come on and be the guy that I think everybody expected from day one.
Right. No, I agree. We punched out Tom shot, so we're good with that. So
right.
Yeah, I think that Max Clare certainly. I mean, I don't want to see Ohio State out there in a bunch of 14s. I'll say that, but I think Max Clare certainly is a difference maker.
All right. So since we've got all of the buses in and
no more buses,
so we will go ahead and wrap up. Thank you all for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up if you have not yet done so.
That way.
Subscribe to the channel as well. Continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. We will have a full post game show, as you guys know. I don't know how long we're going to be able to go. There's snow coming, and we need to get out of Dodge, but we'll do what we can regardless of what happens in this game. And we will definitely be talking about it today, tomorrow, and probably a few days after that as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all